folks, it's Pops from Bourbon and Banter, and today I'm really excited to talk to you about a great new book that's come out into the market from our friend Fred Minnick. It's called Bourbon Curious, a simple tasting guide for the savvy drinker. I love this book, and I can tell you right now, I've already read it about 3 times. I was lucky enough to get a PDF version a couple months ago as Fred was putting it together, and read it and just fell in love with it. And then a couple of weeks ago, his publisher sent me these unedited proof copies, which are softback, which is really nice because I like to open it up. And you'll see that I've already dog-eared. It's kind of hard to see, I guess, but I've page marked, I've highlighted, I've noted things in it. I absolutely love it. A ton of great nuggets in here for the bourbon and whiskey geeks out there, as well as great information for those of you just getting into bourbon and looking to up your bourbon IQ. But like I said, I love this book, and while I don't have the patience or the dedication to write a book, if I did, this is the type of book I want my name on. Absolutely perfect. And that's not to take anything away from the great books that are out there by other authors who I greatly respect, but this one really has a little bit of everything. And what's great about this is, Fred really breaks this up into 3 core sections. He talks about the history, legends, and contemporary truths. So he does a great job talking about the start of bourbon, kind of myth busting, if you will, some of the stories that are out there and some of the legends. He dives into politics, everything from Grant to Taft, to even the modern day things that are going on with the legends and stories that aren't really true, and how whiskey geeks and the consumers are responding to those. I think Templeton Rye is a great recent example of that. Then he gets into the sources of flavor, and what's great about this is he talks about not just the things like the yeast, distillation, and the wood, but he also gets into things like the grain and the corn. And quite frankly, this is the first book about the industry that I've really seen such an in-depth dive into things like GMO corn, or GMO versus non-GMO, and the realities of what the distillers are having to deal with, and really does it make an impact. He talks about yeast quite a bit, gets into the differences between dry yeast and wet yeast, who uses what and why, and also has some interesting details about all the stories you hear in the distillery tours about people, they kept this jug of yeast and carried it for a couple hundred years and kept it super safe. And he kind of gives you his point of view on that as well, and also some quotes from some great legendary distillers around that fact. And then obviously gets into wood and the different types of woods, why American oak is the preferred one. So there's a lot of really cool details, production-oriented stuff that everyone's going to love, especially the whiskey geeks. And then what's cool is he gets into tasting. And I think what's kind of interesting is Fred, sits on a lot of tasting panels. He does a lot of meddling, metal type based bourbon tastings, and so he walks us through what he looks for in a bourbon when he's tasting. He shows you how he grades them. He talks about the different flavors. So if you're looking for a comprehensive list of potential flavors, he gives that, which is a nice kind of companion to like the Bourbon and Banter flavor wheel that we have. He talks about what he looks for. He talks about the finishes. He talks about the mouthfeel. He's got some great little tidbits here about a conversation with Jimmy Russell about the legs on bourbon and what that means. So you have to dig in to find that. But he does a really good job of walking you through. And if you're new to bourbon especially, and you're not sure how you're supposed to taste, this is a great step-by-step introduction to the different things, and how he helps people connect memories to different flavors to really help you draw things out. And then he gets into tasting notes and details for a bunch of different bourbons. And what's cool is, while there's been a lot of people who have put together books on their tasting notes, Fred takes it a huge step forward in that, in addition to the tasting notes, he also talks about the type of wood it was aged in. He gets as much mash bill detail as he can from the distillers. And he's pulling this all together along with a lot of other details so that you can get a really good understanding of what goes into the bourbon, what the mash bill is, what type of wood was it aged into, what type of warehouses it was stored in. So there's a lot of stuff that you're going to get out of here that either you can't find anywhere else, or if you can, you're going to have to go crazy looking at a bunch of different sources to get the information. So it's really cool to see it all pulled together in one place. And then he finishes it up with some brand histories, not real long drawn out background histories, but a couple paragraphs or a paragraph on the different brands and a little bit about their history. So once again, there's a mix of information here for all levels of bourbon drinkers. From those just getting into bourbon and really wanting to find out, what's the story behind things like Buffalo Trace or Woodford Reserve, or even Pappy Van Winkle, to those wanting to dig deeper and actually get into the production process and talk wood, yeast, mash bills. You're really gonna have a lot of fun with this one. Like I said, I've read it 3 times already. I think it's going to be a constant reference book for me that I'll pull off my shelf, and we'll be happy to do that. So, if you haven't pre-ordered a copy, I highly suggest that you go ahead and get an order in. They're available now, so pre-ordering is over with. It's easily available. It's about $14 or so on Amazon.com, I know for sure. But I'm really excited to say that through the generosity of Fred and his publisher, Bourbon and Banter actually has 2 hardback copies that we are going to give away to a couple lucky readers. All we ask you to do is to go ahead and share this video after you've watched it, and then follow the link below the video to a form where you can submit your name and information to enter for a chance to win one of these books. We're going to be really excited. So if you want to go ahead and enter, please do so. If you win, we hope you enjoy it. If you don't, then go out and purchase a copy as quickly as possible. And if you ever get a chance to meet Fred in person, make sure to bring your copy and have him sign it for you. Make it that much more special. My kudos to Fred. Once again, another great book that he's put out, and I think one that's going to really do a great job in helping spread the bourbon gospel. Well, guys, that's it for now. Until next time, grab yourself a drink, grab a great book or 2 or 3, and we'll see you next time. Cheers.